welcome back. As you can see, the trailer is finished. There's a couple of little bits need doing on it still, and a couple of bits that need updating, but it is essentially finished. And as I'm sure you're aware, it's the SLT 56 tank transporter. It's a German truck, it's a Faun, and I think that looks pretty much the business. It's I've weathered it up a lot more than I did the tractor. I think I mentioned that on the final reveal of the tractor unit, and the reason for that is drivers the world over tend to look after the units but not so much the trailers. Anyway, I waffle on. It's a big thing. You can see that it's over a foot long. It's a big piece of plastic. Very easy to put together. I think I've already mentioned on one of the videos that the suspension was a bit of a challenge. I'm just going to stop this revolving round because it'll be driving you mad as it's driving me mad. And put it out of the way over there. Put some of the wire. Okay, so there we are. The suspension was a bit of a nightmare. It really was. And as I mentioned at the time on the last video, these suspension arms, it's a big lump of steel with a spring sticking out of it basically, and then at the other end of it is a shock absorber that drops back into, sorry my hand was in the way, big lump of steel with a spring in it, and then a shock absorber that bolts back to the trailer so that it's supported at both ends. I also mentioned that it's got brake chambers on the first two axles but none on the steer axles. I can't find whether that's true or not anywhere, so I've just gone with the fact that it must be true and not done anything with it. What I was going to do was make a mould of these brake chambers and put them on each one, but you know, at the end of the day it's never going to be seen again, it's never going to be picked up, so I haven't done it. All the wiring, as I mentioned, goes underneath that channel there and then pops out at the rear of the trailer, and some of it at the front of the trailer there. The wiring comes through the gooseneck and goes into two connectors there, two JST connectors, and they will connect into the tractor unit, which you can see behind me here. So they connect into these two bits here. When the trailer's connected to the tractor, I don't think you'll be able to see them once they're painted up. You may notice that all the wheels are turned. Well, not all the wheels. The four rear axles, I've got a bit of a turn on them. When I display it, you can see on the tractor behind us that they're turned as well. So it will look as though it's starting a turn. On these axles in real life, I don't know if anybody's ever driven one with these steerable axles, but they're like 8-wheelers. The front axle generally turns more than the ones behind it, and that gives you your correct tyre turning circle without scrubbing too much off your tyres. While I'm under here, mentioning the tyres, that one's popped off again already. The tyres have more or less had to be super glued on. It's not the fault of the tyre, it's the fault of the rim. The rim has got such a tiny little lip on it that when you push one side of the tyre on, you push the other side off. And when you try to push this side back on, it pushes that side back off. The way I've tried to get round it is to put one side on, glue it, leave it for a couple of hours, then put the other side on and put some glue on that. And I've had to do that quite a lot of times. You can see that, there's 24 tyres on there. So it's a bit of a faff, but it makes it look right. Now, I've managed, as you can see, to get all the wheels sitting on the floor. Yeah, which I think is important. If you've got one that's sticking up in the air, it just doesn't look right. But to do that, there was a lot of jiggery pokery with these springs and prising them up, pushing some up, prising some down, a little bit of heat, warming them up with a little bit of heat, and I think there's one of them where it just wouldn't play, so I had to prop it up. Yeah, it's in there. You can just, no you can't, my hand's in the way, you can just about see the prop I've had to put in. But that's, if you can't see it, it doesn't really matter, does it? The brass that goes on it is fairly easy, and that's about it. The 2 plates here and 2 plates here. On the instructions, you only need to see one really. On the instructions, there's a little raised part on the loading ramp, and again at the front of the trailer on one of those toolboxes, there's a little raised part with a couple of pips in it, and there's a couple of pips in the photo etch, and the intention is you glue that to that, but it's so small that that would ping off at the slightest touch. So what I've done is I've cut another piece. It's a 1/2 millimetre thick, that, so I've cut a piece of 1/2 millimetre PVC sheet, glued it on there, and then when it's painted, you can't see it at all. If I hadn't mentioned it, I'd defy anybody to realise it was there. So it's entirely up to you how you do it, but that's how I'd done it, how I would do it. Otherwise it'll just ping off and it's gone forever then. What else is that? I've still got a little cross to put on there. That comes with a little cover. When they're using it, the cover sits this way at 45 degrees, and when they're not using it, it covers the white. And the white is so that if you're running without lights, a vehicle behind you can follow along quite easily. Same as the tractor unit, fog lights, indicators, signals, if you want to call them signals, and running lights on there. 2 red reflectors, a beacon on the top there. I want to modify that slightly to make it a real beacon, but I don't think it's far off the design of the real one. Yeah, so that's up there. I'll show you the lights working in a minute or two. The deck, I've camouflaged it, and then I watched a video of a guy making a non-slip tread on it was on a tank, and I thought that was a clever idea. And what he did was he mixed his paint with bicarbonate of soda. So that's a clever idea. So I did exactly the same, and it does indeed give you a fabulous texture. It's really nice, but it seeps white through it. You can see a little tide mark there, and this is after about 6 coats of dark wash to get rid of it. Yeah, you can see it there as well. It comes through everywhere. So I'm going to mix up some more a thicker wash, if you like. You can see it more clearly in there. There's loads of it in there. But there you go. So he neglected to tell me that, but there you go. Such is life. You live and learn, don't you? I'll use it again. I'll just use a better paint within it so that it soaks right through the bicarb. So that's what I've done with the deck there, and that's to emulate the vehicles running across it. What else have I got? Not a lot. Bit of weathering on bit of rust on the rollers and the pulley wheels. Little snatch block at the back here is the same. Little roller so that if your cable's coming along here and then around that snatch block, that snatch block there comes along around the snatch block, doesn't take all the paint off your trailer. Still hidden it. Comes along over that roller around the snatch block and doesn't run on the top of the trailer, keeps it off the trailer. There's not a lot more I can tell you. That bit of brass for the spare wheel is quite difficult to make. You can't make it with a bending machine. You've got to do it with your hands and do it by eye. But you'll get there. All the little running lights are in the sides here. The larger running lights at the sides. As I say, I'll show you those when they're on in a minute. In the basket at the front there, where are they now? I'll deal with the back of the trailer first. I haven't put them on yet because I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do it. You've got a little loop there, like a rusty piece of metal, when it's cleaned up it'll look a lot better than that. And in the kit it comes with the tensioners, the ratchet straps, not ratchet straps, the ratchet tensioners for the arms of the trailer, the loading arms of the trailer, come with, can't find them, come with 2 pieces of PE, there, PE 13, and they look as much like a chain tensioner, strap cable tensioner as my head does. It's just not right, it doesn't look right. So what I've done is I've left those off and I've made, let's find one that's not quite so rusty there. Okay. The reason they're not on yet is because they weren't dry before I made this video. And what I've done is I've made half a dozen little tensioners. Let's pull it in. Little tensioners. They're very rusty, but as I say, by the time I've cleaned them up to the standard I want, they'll look a little bit rusty. And what they're made from, there's some photographs of it on the video, they're made from a piece of 2mm plastic tube and 1mm steel wire that's going through, and the steel wire goes right the way through the middle there, you can probably see it, and on the end there. And what I'm going to do with those is, as I said, they're not finished yet, but they will be. The hook will go into the trailer there. This will go into the hook, and then we'll put it on that side. This will go into the hook, and then the cable will come up through here around that pin there, and then hook over that pin there. And they're a little bit big for the scale, but I'm not clever enough to make them smaller than that, to be fair. And I certainly wasn't going to pay the price that some people charge for these sort of things. And as you can see, it's quite easy to clean that up a bit. Yeah. And then when I've got it to where I want it, I'll spray it with varnish so that no more will come off. So it's a piece of plastic with a slot cut in it, loads of pictures, and then the metalwork put into there. Then I've painted the whole thing silver so that it looks metallized on the other side, and then there you go. I think I made 6 of them. So in the basket there are a couple of jerry cans. I think I've mentioned those in the past, that I made a mould of those. Guides for the trailer, for the loading deck. There's 4 of those that come with the kit. They'll go in there. A couple of odd bits of chain, they'll go in there, and anything else you can find that will go in. The chain I bought from China, and over here you pay about £3 for a metre. I got 10 metres for £2. I think that's quite a deal, that. It's shiny, it's a jewellery chain, but it looks exactly like, it's made like a real chain. I know that, I've thrown enough of these over the top of lorries out in my time, and with a little bit of work that can be varnished up, rusted up, and then varnished so that it stays as it is. I'm also going to hang these, put the spare chains over here and hang, oh good, couple of chains over here, spare chains over here, and then hang the ratchet straps, the ratchets over the top of there. And that is about that for all of that. Anybody wants to know more details about how to make those little bits, just give us a shout, leave a comment, and I'll only be too glad to help, I'll only be too happy to help. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug it into the unit so that you can see that the lights work on it. I think you've already seen the lights working when it was part built. Okay, so the batteries will go underneath the diorama that I'm going to make for it, and all the switches to turn the whole thing on and off will go within the diorama somewhere. I've already shown you the lights on the tractor. So basically, I'll flip through all these switches, and as you can see, you've got red lights at the back. Need a bit more paint on them, and as I mentioned before, it's hard to see them with the video lights running, but you get the gist of it. All the lights are on at the back there, and the indicators aren't flashing because I've not turned them on. So the beacon flashes and the indicators flash, the hazard lights flash as well. So all of that is wired up. Most of the wiring's in the tractor here under the engine cover. So it's a good job it didn't come with an engine really, otherwise I've had nowhere to put it. And I've got more wires than the national grid in there. You can see from on the inside a little red glow on the inside. That's some of the electronics in there with little lights on to tell you that they're working. That is about it. I can't tell you much more. As I mentioned on the last video, it won't be turned that way, but those are not that obtrusive. When they're painted green, and those wires are painted green, and it'll go on the diorama at that sort of an angle. So the front's turned, the back's starting to turn, and what I'm thinking about is putting a barrier in front of it and lighting that up with the normal red lights that come on the barriers. That's your lot, guys. Oh, I'll tell you one other thing, that eventually if I can convince my wife to give me the money, I will put a howitzer of the same era, a German howitzer of the same era on the top of it, and that should look quite nice. Any questions, any comments, please leave them in the boxes below. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe and share the video, and I shall speak to you again next time. Thanks very much for watching. Ta-da!